What up? Welcome to the Daily Grind. It's looking a little different today. I'm one half of the team. The other half of the team, Mark, I think he's above Texas in the air currently, not flying like himself in an airplane. So I have Sean. Then this is the first time we've done a pod together, isn't it, Sean? Sean Coleman.
I believe it is. It definitely is, and I think that's correct. And with what happened with the Grammys yesterday, like I know that Mark flying over Texas would be great, but wouldn't it be a more enjoyable trip if he was in a fast car listening to the latest version of Fast Car? I just want to, I don't go talk basketball and everything, but the Tracy Chapman Luke Combs version of Fast Car last night was one of the best live performances I've ever heard. And it was just amazing. It showed how timeless that hit is, show how incredibly good Tracy Chapman was in the past and the present at delivering the song. And I've seen a few takes out there. Well, what value did Luke Combs add singing the song with her? He showed exactly that. He showed how timeless that song is, showed how amazing Tracy Chapman was. And with the reverence and respect that he showed her, showed that song now can have the same impact on this generation as it did in the past. Like it was just it was incredible. So forgive me for giving on my soapbox, but anybody else, the last night's version of Fast Car was just incredible. Great job to Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs.
Well, and it's also those moments don't happen every Grammys, like sometimes it's just the same old run of the mill stuff. Like when something like amazing like that actually happens, it matters a lot.
Exactly. It definitely does. And if you want any proof of just how incredible of a moment it was, go look at Tracy Chapman's reaction to the crowd's reaction at the start of the song. So, but hey, let's get to talking basketball. That's why we're here.
Also, if you picture Mark with wind blowing through his hair is a good image too, because he doesn't have hair. That's a good image.
I don't want to picture Mark at all.
just not at all.
Yeah.
Basketball though. So since we had kind of a bad weekend hoops wise, we're going to have like the bad stuff in the middle. We're changing things up. So we're going to do trade talk first. This news, I think, dropped this morning about Killian Hayes, like in terms of trade rumors.
Yeah.
I saw this all over my timeline when I woke up this morning. And I also saw like a lot of different reactions, like running the gamut of extremely positive and optimistic to like death sentence, which I thought that was pretty wild. Just such variety out of the gate already. I found what you were saying really insightful personally, because a lot of people just I'm one of the guilty parties. Sometimes I'll just gang up on Killian because it's easy to do. But like you just had a really thoughtful, which I'll let you talk. Would you mind talking about that? Like just what you were breaking down this morning?
Yeah, I love this time of year, to be honest with you, Luke, because it's so much fun. Millions are passionate about the game of basketball, but this time of year brings about the opportunity for you to get a more inside look at just the inner workings of how basketball and team construction and all that goes into it works. Because especially for Grizz fans, it's an opportunity to kind of gain an idea of just how resourceful and creative this front office is. And I don't think that this front office is above criticism. They've had their struggles, especially when it comes to the draft, some other roster decisions and things like that. This season, despite the injuries, they're paying the price a bit for that. But the Steven Adams trade reminds us of, in my opinion, just how resourceful and well thought through the moves that the Grizzlies make are when it comes to this front office. And the Killian Hayes rumor is exactly that. What Luke is referring to is, the fact that Michael Scotto, the same source that last year, reported that the Grizzlies had potentially offered four first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, in which, in time, it seems, to be pretty accurate.
Exactly.
He came out and said on two fronts that, the Grizzlies they had expressed interest in Killian Hayes, but also the fact that the Grizzlies are, rival executives are monitoring Xavier Tillman, Zaire Williams, and Jake LaRavia. Now, we'll get to Xavier Tillman in just a moment, but I think that it's fair to assume that the Grizzlies' interest in Killian Hayes and the interest that rival executives have when it comes to Zaire Williams and Jake LaRavia, those two things are connected, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know if anything's going to happen here, and I don't want to get too far into on a potential thing that could happen. But Killian Hayes, the name, is not the point of this potential deal. The Grizzlies' interest in Killian Hayes is, in my opinion, probably not for Killian Hayes to play. It probably doesn't make sense for the Grizzlies to go out and get him when they already have, similar versions of him, a player that's not adding a lot of value, and several different options that are already on the roster. But what is a value when it comes to Killian Hayes is that expiring contract. He was a 2020 draft pick. He's in the last year of his contract at $7.43 million. So the Pistons, being a team that is still rebuilding, has a lot of cap space next year, what have you, they could be a team that if you took Laravia or you took Zaire, possibly both, I don't necessarily know how likely that is.
But if you're so lucky,
if you take one of those two, you may have to add an asset. But you take one of those two and you trade them to the Pistons and you get Killian Hayes. What that does is that puts Killian Hayes on your roster this year, but you're done paying him after this year. And you're likely not going to look to extend him or anything like that. You're fine letting him walk. The value in that type of deal is you get opened up money. You no longer owe the money to Laravia or Zaire next season, but also their roster spot freed up. So it may not even be Killian Hayes who is the person that the Grizzlies look to do this with, but it's an example of how creative the Grizzlies can be in terms of finding a way to move on from a roster spot right now that's not offering productivity, freeing up money in the future in that roster spot, while also being able to not have to do it by adding relevant assets as well. So it just shows the creativity that's there. And there's more details that you can get into as far as the deal goes that would make it similar to what the Grizzlies did with Adams and Victor Oladipo. But the whole point is we saw that even with the surprise that they traded Steven Adams, just how much value the Grizzlies got back for that. Even if they're focusing on a player himself that may not seem that attractive or may not be that sensible as a target, it's the details that come with that player that can make it a productive trade for the Grizzlies. And I think that's what you get with the Killian Hayes interest.
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, too. Like, there's no way, well, maybe there is a way, but the fact that both stories were kind of dropped at the same time, like the interest in Jake and Z supposedly from other execs, as well as quote unquote interest in Killian Hayes, those are intertwined. It's like it doesn't make sense for those to be separate stories. It's the fact that they were able to find any team interested in those guys, let alone, like you said, the value that you get with Killian Hayes expiring and moving off those roster spots. It's just so smart. It's all the people that shit on like this organ, like the people that don't actually stop and look at the moves, look at these. I mean, I always call it the Jarrett Culver trades, where a couple years ago we did all these little bitty tiny moves, got some assets to get off an expiring contract. It wasn't really that great a player that we got, but for the next year, it helped us save money. And there's not a lot of teams that do that. There's not a lot of teams in the league that's doing that. And I don't know. It makes me want to tell people that gang up on Kleiman and then to shut up.
Well, and again, it comes to, I think criticisms is fair. Yes, there is a reason. We've got, we had 4 first-round picks in 2021 and 2022. 3 of those first-round picks, just to be completely honest, right now are not offering really any sort of value. David Roddy is playing, but him adding consistent positive value is hard to see. Santi Aldama, I have shown obviously are higher ceiling, but he's regressed a bit from last year. So yes, it's been a missed opportunity in terms of the Grizzlies not getting value from that. But again, pointing to the resourcefulness of them, they found 2 second-round picks in Mitch Williams and Gigi Jackson over the past 2 years that could potentially minimize the long-term impact of not getting value out of those first 2 rounds. And the resourcefulness in terms of being able to customize deals in ways that they can, rid themselves, I don't want to say it that way, in which they can find new opportunities for folks who are not working out here elsewhere and can put themselves in a better position long term. That's what encourages me about this deal. But I'll tell you this though, Luke, as far as Xavier Tillman goes, he's been sitting. I know that it's quote unquote an injury. I'm sure that they're more wanting to prevent there being any type of injury than one that's actually going on. Your thoughts on him? I definitely think that if there is any Grizzly who's most likely to go, it would be Xavier Tillman. Yeah,
you took the words right out of my mouth. I think if I were a betting man, I don't gamble because every time I do, I just get angry because I don't ever win. if I was a betting man, he would be the guy that I would say isn't on this team in a week. I agree. Now, where I know we talked I guess it was a week ago, Mark and I discussed the Cavs rumor that had come out where we could get the possible 2 second-round picks, I think it was. Another example of resourcefulness, like freeing up roster spots, getting off freeing up money, getting assets. We're a small market. We can't be trading and spending free agency like these big market teams. We just can't, because we'll lose, we'll fail. We have to be resourceful. That's a good, I love that you use that word. Like the resourcefulness that we're showing is just more of that, please. Where do you think X goes?
I definitely feel that I don't have the teams in front of me right now, but I think one of two scenarios could make a team attracted, or I think one of two scenarios could make X attractive for a team. It's either a team that's trying to contend right now that does have some defensive inefficiencies that could use some depth, maybe a Sacramento, for instance, or definitely a Phoenix, an Indiana, somebody like that. Or it's a team that has had some unfortunate injury luck when it comes to their front court, maybe a Philadelphia or a New York. Boston would be a team that could definitely have a defensive upgrade. Listen, X's defense this year has been incredible at times. And we know how you got the added benefit of what he could do against star-level talents in the post or on the wing. And he showed up multiple years. He showed up last year in the Lakers series. He showed up the year before in the series against the Timberwolves. He can show up in spots in the playoffs. And I know that people are thinking that if we free up money by trading others, maybe we could extend X. I get that. But X is probably going to be more valuable to a contender this year and getting us future assets, because what we need from that center, size, rebounding, screen setting, all that, we're good defensively. That's X's best asset. So trading X for future assets that may be able to get a role player who's more offensively inclined than X may be more beneficial for us. So that's the viewpoint that I have on X. But man, it's fun to talk about all this, and I know that you and Mark will have plenty to talk about coming on. But hey, we got to be fair and balanced here, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the good with the bad. So the rough weekend is something that we'll also need to discuss. Not sure if there's much to take away, but still needs to be talked about. So.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we will talk about we'll call it the showing the boys had over the weekend after this quick break.
Absolutely.
Not just the level of individual talent that he plays with, but it's also the level of his mind. We haven't gotten cross-court open shot this year. Right. We haven't seen that pass a lot. Number one, you got to respect him going to the basket. There's a roller. I got to watch the roller. He has the mind to be able to say, I see all of that, and now I see this guy over here. I'm going to get him this open shot. How shifty he is to always be going forward. It's usually side to side. Yeah. His dribble moves are side to side, but going forward. Right. Which is very hard to defend. I just want to get you, as many times can I get you to do this? But for him, it's not here. It is here, which is with or his moves to get down the floor. It's awkward for a defender to try to catch a cadence. You dribble. So now what I do is when you go put that ball down, I'm going for it. But with him, it's hard for my cadence. But what's my cadence for you? I don't know what it is.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Who do you need to step it up? Outside of David Jones, I think David Jones is David Jones.
I don't think you need him to step it up because he's been performing.
Yeah, he's David Jones. Outside of him, he's fine.
I think Quinterly needs to play better.
In what way? He's facilitating the ball well. What do you I don't
2 at 12 from the field's not cutting it.
It's not great. It's not great.
And I don't need a runner 3 from the top of the key with 3.5 seconds left.
Is Virginia the game where Jordan Brown is going to cook? Those dudes aren't looking to run the ball.
Cook what? Dude, I thought he was going to have a freaking night. He came out with that fresh cut, lined up. And then literally within the first 15 seconds, missed a wide open layup. And then picked up 2 fouls right away.
I feel real lied to because I thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy.
Didn't think it did anything for you.
Well, I think
we all thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy. And we are getting that in David Jones.
I'm not even getting 20 or 10 minutes out of the guy.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind. Luke here. If you're not already an insider, quick self-promotion, go to Bluff City Media, become an insider. You get to, if you like me and Sean, you'll hear us read our writing all the time. I like our writing, so I go there all the time and I read our stuff. I would recommend doing it. You get access to all these shows, access to the Discord. It's a lot of fun. But enough fun trade talks. Let's talk about the weekend games. What was your favorite part?
The first quarter yesterday, when we were
we
were going into the second quarter, when we were listen, I mean, hey, we talk about it. Listen, at the end of the day, we played the Warriors and the Celtics. We lost by a total of 60 points. So it was really an average of 30 points per game, which is not fun. But hey, for 2.5 quarter for half that time we were competitive, but yesterday they were trying their best, and even with Trey Jemison going down in the second quarter, or first quarter with 2 fouls, we stepped up. We had a good showing. Just tried our best, and that's all that you could do right now. Listen, the Grizzlies are in survival mode, so we're going to talk about it. But just to spoiler alert, it's hard to take anything significant away when you don't have a lot of significance to work with, and that's just the truth right now. But Luke, I'll get your takes, and then there's a couple of things I want to point out at the very least. So
yeah, well, man, say what you want about these dudes, they're not rolling over for anybody, man. Like we were watching the game, and it was the part you were talking about when it felt like a competitive game, and Boston, like, he put the starters back in. He was like, oh shit, I have to take this seriously. And I think the fact that this team, which I believe are the 8 guys that played last night, 6 of them are on 10 days or 2 ways. Like, of the 8 guys available, the fact that they made the best team in the NBA, take them seriously, is just a testament to how hard these dudes are playing. Last night specifically, I don't know how we stumbled into both Gilliard and Scottie Pippen Jr. We're going to talk more on them specifically, I think, in the next segment. But like, the play from the guards last night, I just thought was fantastic. Like, if you give Gilliard a 4 more inches, he's one of the best guards in the NBA, I think. Like, you had a piece come out today. You had this morning, right, about Gilliard? Like I said, we'll go into more about him later. But I've been so impressed with the backcourt, in both these games. Both these guys are undersized. I think Pippen Jr. is only 6'1". He's shorter than me. I just, the fact that they're going out there and they're making people take them seriously, it's awesome. And another thing I liked about yesterday, God, I just got to jump in like it's the deep end of the pool. Tosan Ebuaman. Nah, that's wrong. The fact that, how many boards did he get in if you would have,
he had 9 rebounds in the first quarter yesterday.
Like, if you would have told me that he was going to have a game high in rebounds yesterday, I would have laughed in your face after I mispronounced his name. I think that's something that we need to, which, I mean, he averaged, I think, 8 rebounds in the G League in 13 games. Like, he's a rebounder, and God knows we need that. So I would love to see more of that. Those were, between him and the guards, I'm going to be the 2 positive things.
Yeah. And I think that there's a couple of other things, and I believe that, I hope that I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Tosan Ewoma is I think how you pronounce his name. Forgive me if that's incorrect. But listen, people that cover the Grizzlies, ship for the Grizzlies, anybody involved with the Grizzlies right now, you never want to be, or it's hard at least to be, this far into the season, and the value that you take away from 2 games over the weekend, especially playing 2 premier clubs like the Warriors and Celtics. I'm talking about in terms of them being the upper tier clubs in the NBA when it comes to being well known.
Yes, and the Warriors always play their ass off against us.
Yeah. you never want to talk about feel-good stories as the main takeaway, because that means that you're not playing for wins and losses, but that's where we are. But I will say this about Taysom Woma, is that now I made the tweet yesterday. Taysom had 9 boards as a reserve in the first quarter yesterday. That's only the 5th time that a reserve in the first quarter of a game had 9+ rebounds ever since quarter stats started being tracked in the 96-97 season. And yes, correct. Only 5 people have done that.
Whoa.
But his dad tweeted it out. And I believe some teammates as well tweeted it out. So the reason that I'm mentioning that is because it's pretty cool to see the opportunity that some of these players are having. Now, Taysom, Trey Jemison, others, are they going to have a future with the Grizzlies? Just to be honest, probably not. They're here because of the fact that so many others are injured. But it's really awesome to see that they're getting to live out a dream and make the most of the opportunity when it comes to Memphis. Because right now, Memphis is just in survival mode. They're not expected to win these games with all these players out, but it's good to see some positive production and what it means to others who follow these players when it's going on for these 10-day guys. The other thing that I think is important to note is that Gigi Jackson, obviously right now, has been struggling. He had a great start to things. I think, in January, he made 23s and shot 46% from 3. We all knew that was eventually going to regress, but it's kind of fallen off now that teams are paying him more attention, and he's had to take on a bigger role due to all these injuries. But right now,
too.
Yeah, right now this is a valley, but the value of valleys, when you're talking about an athlete, the value of valleys is for them to prosper more at higher peaks when they get through them, especially at a young age. You want reps. It was great. It's great. It's wonderful that Gigi Jackson not only started yesterday, but took 24 shots. And he got better as the game went along, right? He struggled at the end, of course. But my point is that let him take 24 shots. Let him figure out, if he's the focal point of the opposing defense, what do I need to do to find success in this situation? That's what comes from this opportunity right now. And when it comes to him and Luke Kennard, those really are, I know Scottie Pippen signed next year, those really are the only 2 that right now are going to potentially impact our team when it's healthy. But struggles right now can lead to bigger successes later. And so that's another thing to watch as well, seeing how Gigi Jackson adjusts to it. So I get it. Not that much value going on right now, but there still are some things to watch and still some good moments to track.
If you don't think that what the reps that Gigi Jackson is getting right now is going to make him the dude is going to be killer off the bench next season. Like if he's chucking the ball up this many times right now, like when he gets his shot, like when it gets more just when it's already pretty, like when he just gets it down, like we've been looking for like a Jordan Clarkson-esque dude off the bench forever as the Grizzlies, like that guy just to come off the bench, guaranteed bucket, who isn't afraid to shoot and take over a game. GG is looking like he's going to be that guy. And I'm so glad that he declared for this draft, and because he would have gone top 5 in next year's draft, it seems. I'm so grateful we stumbled into him.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that I'm also grateful that we're taking the opportunity to do what we need to do in order to make the most of his time with us. And if we can do that, that's going to make it awesome. But speaking of time with us, we talk about, just how much the young guys have been for us. And we're seeing some young guys who are taking advantage of opportunities for themselves in the future, but also currently. When we come back, I think that we're going to get into some fun conversation about, hey, point guard depth for the future. Could we see what's currently there now, even with all these injuries, still make an impact once we're healthy?
Man, that was good. Mark needs to learn from yours. That was a good segue. Mark needs to learn. If you're in the air, Mark, this is how you do a segue, brother. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
I'm just big on being able to vocalize what someone's role is. I always thought my best coaches were the people that let me know exactly what you expect from me. Now, I might not like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you come to me man to man to say, this is how we think we're gonna play you, bang, 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 and hopefully everybody understand. I'm not saying that this has not been done with this team. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying from my experience, we all have egos when we get to this game. Right. All of us, to the last person on the bench, you got an ego, but all of us can't be the man.
Yeah.
And now you got to be able to say, okay, he's the man, but what do I do and what can I do to help us be good? And if it's vocalized to you, then you know exactly what. And if I'm out there doing it, and now I'm not getting the result from you, now we got to sit down and have another conversation. But as long as it is told to you, this is what we expect from you, this is how we want you to play, then I feel like, again, keeping his logo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. All right, Christian.
Yes.
You are Penny Hardaway.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Today, you're going to play act, okay? Gabe, because you're a Jordan Brown apologist, you're going to be Jordan Brown.
I'm a Jordan Brown apologist. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Y'all are sitting across the room from each other.
I said, don't tweet him hate. And he's like, you're an apologist. Like, good God. But either way, continue. We're in a room together.
Why did things break down?
Jordan, we brought you in this year to be the centerpiece of our offense. You came in out of shape. Let's call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. We play fast. Told you this when we were recruiting you. We play fast. One of the fastest paces in the country. You have to be able to get up and down the floor. You have failed at that.
Oh, well, I'm leaving. So it's fine. Cool.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
We're back. The daily grind. All right. So we were just talking about young dudes, the opportunities that they're getting here. It says grading the young guys. It's only because I couldn't spell the word I wanted to use. But let's talk about these young guys. Out of all of them, so the 6 that played last night, is that how many were? Yeah, the 6 guys that weren't the 10 days, the 2 ways. You wrote about Gilliard this morning. Like, what is the most impressive thing that you were seeing, not just from him, but from all of them? Because I think it's pretty amazing. And I also think that Jenkins isn't getting nearly enough credit for the job that he is doing with these. I mean, like, they're just these guys are so young, man. And they're fearless. I've used that word so many times on this show, but I'm just amazed at the fearlessness they continue to show out there.
Agreed. And what's most intriguing to me about what we're seeing currently from these players is the point guard production right now. I think that I'll talk about Vince and Gigi in just a moment, but I think that, since we've lost Ja Bane, Marcus, we've been without Derrick Rose as well. You've seen people have to step up in that role that normally would not be playing that role. And from what you would expect, I think that we've gotten okay value. Luke has shown that he can be a smart, productive playmaker at times. He's out of his element being a primary facilitator. That's just the truth. But he's shown that in the past, what intrigued people about him was good, positive, a playmaking ability to go along with his three-point shooting. I'm looking up a few things right now about Scottie Pippen Jr. Scottie Pippen Jr. right now, 24 assists to 14 points, but also from 3 so far, he's 8 of 14 from 3. Now, that's obviously not going to last, but with Scottie Pippen Jr., you brought him in to be someone that can kind of penetrate, get into that lane. That was the calling card of his offense, get into the lane, scoring, get to the line, some good playmaking as well. If he can improve his three-point shot, you may have something there in terms of a point guard next year. But to me also what's impressive is Jacob Gilliard. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Jacob Gilliard is probably not in the future plans for the Grizzlies. He's done tremendous this year. His size is just a limiting factor that just has to be, kept in mind. But he has done really well in his time this year. And I find it to be no coincidence that as soon as Scottie Pippen comes into play, and Pippen's not only signed this year, but next year as a two-way player, that's what gets Gilliard going to play his best basketball that we've seen. And that's what we've seen over the past 2 games, him scoring in the double digits. Now, is it impacting him? No. It's just him taking advantage of the opportunity. But Gilliard has been one of the best assist to turnover sources in the NBA. He's fourth in assist to turnover ratio for among players who have played at least 30 games and 15 minutes per game this season. He also is our second best shooter, 42.6% on 101 threes. Kind of sounds like Tyus Jones. He's not. But the playing style is certainly there. And of course, you had, the lifetime memory of him blocking Steph Curry on Friday night. So it's been the play of the point guards, or those are our vague version of a point guard that we've had, with all the injuries. Gilliard's done well to make the most of it. Whatever opportunity lies in the future for him, I think he's done well for himself in that instance. Kennard has shown that he could be a secondary facilitator. And I know Kennard's not a young guy, but talking about, guys in new roles. And then Pippen Jr., I think is very intriguing as a third point guard on a two-way next year. I will say, with no offense to Jacob Gilliard, I think long-term, Scottie Pippen is a bit more of an upgrade when it comes to a two-way point guard.
Yeah, I was going to ask too, is he coming up on he's only allowed to play a certain amount of games for the main roster, right?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have off the top of my head the knowledge of how many games people have left and things such as that. Decisions may need to be made as time goes on. The thing that I'll say is this: the Grizzlies obviously are likely, on top of that, but I don't know that exactly. I am sure, though, that, when it comes to Gilliard, he probably is getting close to his allotted time.
Yeah. It makes me – I'm a big Luke Kennard guy. I think this shows a bit where we love Kennard. I continue to just love the way that he's playing. He has to be the adult in the room right now with these guys because everyone just by necessity. So he's playing outside his role. He's having to be the adult in the room, and he's managing to not suck. And I don't know. Either if it's with us long term or if it's with another team, if we trade him, I like him. I think he's a hooper. I wish we would extend him, but it seems I don't know. We're dragging our feet with it, so I don't know.
Well, and the reason why, it's not a priority right now. So, when it comes to potentially extending him, that's going to be off-season conversations that are going to be had because there's still plenty of season to be had, and we'll worry about the details of that later on. But when it comes to Luke Kennard, listen, you're seeing the fact is that he is showing. I talk so much about how he lifts the overall core of our offense when we're healthy, but he's also showing that he doesn't have to be totally reliant to be productive, on those guys being available. Does he create his own shot? No. But when he gets a shot, he still does well.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I'll say is that, of course, the two that people want to talk about is so far Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson. I think Vince Williams deserves an A+. So far for grading the young guys, I'll put, Gigi is at an A-, B+. And the only reason why is because, you've seen the struggles. But the important thing to remember is that we've seen, am I doing my hand right? We've seen, I don't know what I'm doing. Anywho.
I think you're doing it right.
We've seen with Vince Williams a rare trait when it comes to a player playing in his first season. His development in a short time frame has been on a linear incline. It's continued to go up because he's maintained his defense. He's continued to do very well efficiently. On offense, he's shown his playmaking. He's been able to keep his shooting kind of maintained. With Gigi, you're going to get a little bit more up and down. And so for development for all players is not linear. Again, you're going to have valleys, but the value in those valleys are higher peaks in time, hopefully. The point that I'm getting at is that their development right now may be a bit different because you're seeing, what happens at different age ranges. But I do think that both are clearly showing they're in the plans for the Grizzlies in the future. With that being said, I think that both of them, at least for next year, are going to be depth pieces. So while I think center is probably the bigger focus for the Grizzlies in terms of, if they were to do any buying at the deadline or in the offseason, I also don't think that the Grizzlies are just completely, going to turn a blind eye, or they're still going to definitely monitor the opportunity to maybe add an intriguing big wing who can play the 3 or 4 that may even play into their draft plans if they keep the pick. But as good as Vince and good as Gigi have been, the point is that right now, do I feel that one of them are clearly the starter going forward? No, I don't. I think that they can definitely start, especially Vince if they need to. But I think the main thing that comes from their value is that you're going to get, when we sign Gigi to his contract, you're going to get good depth with good upside in a place that you sorely needed it on this roster. And moving forward, that's definitely a better place to be from than if you didn't have that. You still had Roddy LaRavia and Zaire struggling.
Yeah, man. Well said. I want to end it there because that was really well said. I want to ask you one question though before we end the show. Who's the starting center for this team next season?
I don't really have a comment on that because I don't have enough in place to see what's going on. I will put it to you this way. I think that there is a very good chance where when it comes to who will be the starting center, when things matter the most for the Grizzlies, high leverage or clutch situations, it'll be Jaren Jackson Jr. That I will answer. I think that probably is going to be, and if that's Brandon Clark at the 4, well then, if that proves to be the case, you're in a better position than you think you are right now. I do think though that between now and the start of next year, you do see at least a somewhat significant addition added to the front court.
Who's I'll give you mine. Like if because I 100% agree with you. Like the numbers backing the Jaren BC like front court, they're insane. Like they're so good, like I think that's what you're doing. But if gun to your head, you have to have a center. I love Nick Claxton. Like that's who I would like to see on this squad. I who knows if we got to pay him if we get him. I don't know if that's what we do, but in a vacuum, that's the center I like. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be the starting center next season, but that's who I would target.
Yeah, and if the Grizzlies view Claxton as being one of their 5 best players, for instance, if they view a Ja Bain, insert wing, Claxton, Jaren lineup, if that wing's Marcus or whomever, that's fine. Yeah, if you want to, it seems like that his value, it seems like that his price may not necessarily be as high as the Nets want it, and I would think that there's more to them maybe not wanting to pay him with Deron Sharp and others there than some may believe. If you want to go get him, that's fine. But with kind of how conscientious the Grizzlies are, where they are with their cap right now, and just the fact that, they were willing to move on from Steven Adams, I don't necessarily know if it makes that much sense for them to trade what it will cost, which is at the very least likely some type of heavily protected first plus more for Nick Claxton, then have to extend him for 4 years and maybe $18 to $22 million. It doesn't seem like the Grizzlies are in that mold. That would be more with the younger team that's not as close to the cap. Nick Richards makes a bit of sense to me when it comes to Charlotte. He does the things well that we need to center to do playing next to Jaren, and he's not someone, he'll be making $5 million over the next 1 to 2 years. He's not someone that you're going to feel is being wasted on the bench if he's not in closing lineups. He's someone that can give you that big body for 20 minutes a night. The Grizzlies talked about looking for someone that is that Steven Adams archetype. But with Steven Adams right now and where he is, and for the Grizzlies, you want that player to probably play 15 to 20 minutes a night instead of nearly 30 each night. That's why Memphis moved on from wanting to owe Steven Adams $12.5 million. I think with Nick Richards, that's someone that can make sense. You may not have to pay a first to get him, and I definitely think that he's someone that can come in, and if you just ask him to do this simple stuff, he may even be able to expand his game kind of like Adams did once he got here. But Nick Richards, just in terms of being a lower trade cost, obviously lower long-term cost money-wise, I think he probably makes sense in what I feel the Grizzlies may be looking for.
Man, I forget about Nick Richards just because I forget about Charlotte. That's my bad. It's a good answer. Good answer.
But to me, I don't mean this to be negative towards anybody. That kind of sums up exactly what the Grizzlies need out of that center position. They need someone that's, you may not necessarily remember as playing a big role, but when you look at the numbers, both individually and as a team, someone that stands out when he's on the court, he adds value like Steven Adams did. Even if they don't have the personality of Steven Adams, which is a shame because Adams has one of the best personalities in the NBA. But that player who doesn't need much attention or need the ball much to add value, the cheaper kind of player you can get like that when it comes to cost, that's who they should go after. I think that could be Nick Richards.
Well said, brother. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you for hopping on here with me. Let's do this again. I like talking. You favorite comic book character? Go.
Batman.
Well said. All right. That'll be it with Daily Grind. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you.